Well, that PlayStation showcase was so disappointing, Slade. We're just covering it here. Welcome to Who the Hell Asked. Byron and Slade here.
That's right. We had the initial idea to do a separate recording for the PlayStation Presents.
Yeah, but
I think
spoilers,
I'll.
it wasn't that great.
Yeah, so we decided, screw it, we're gonna loop all the stuff in with this episode. Slade here alongside my co-host Byron.
Yeah.
Without further ado, let's go ahead and get this
So,
episode.
to quickly recap this state of play, we had a few announcements. We had Sony presenting its games as a service push with games like Concord from Firewalk and Fair Games from Haven Studios, which looks like a Ubisoft fucking game, in my opinion. We got the announcements of Metal Gear Solid. First off, a collection of the older games coming soon. And we also are getting a MGS3 remake? Question mark?
That's right, but that's not a Sony exclusive. That's going to be on PlayStation and Xbox, and I believe PC at some point as well.
Yes, but
so pretty interesting choice. They're remaking Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, which I think is a pretty good place for them to start overall.
Yeah,
I think it was either between that or MGS2, and I think 3 just makes a hell of a lot more sense.
Yeah, well, Konami caring about Snake again. Interesting. But I think the most interesting thing that came out of this was the PlayStation Project Q, aka PlayStation's Wii U. As I've seen people meme.
It's a PlayStation Wii U gamepad that seems like it's going to have functionality with the PlayStation 5. We did get a whole lot of details in regards to this contraption.
Yes.
In fact, that was kind of a running theme throughout the entirety of the presentation.
Yeah, there were there were no details. So it's a 1080p screen, 8-inch OLED, other details to be determined. Well, let's take a shot at price. How much do you think this will cost?
So my initial prediction is going to be $200 because this isn't going to be a standalone console.
Yes.
It's going to be a controller that is going to work with your PS5. But after having some conversations, not just with Byron, but with some of my coworkers as well, as like seeing a lot of like articles in the tech industry, I actually am ramping up my prediction to around $300.
Yeah, that's
because I think in terms of how expensive controllers for modern day consoles usually are, on top of adding a 1080p screen and a lot of different functionality, I think this is going to be a very expensive device.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I was actually thinking that same thing. A friend of mine, you know who you are if you're listening to this, he predicted $400 for this device,
which would be insane and nobody would buy it. Yeah. Honestly, the novelty for this item, because it's not like a Switch, you can't take it anywhere you want with you and it'll magically work.
So the fucked thing about this is, obviously, you know, the big push for cloud gaming by everybody. This doesn't do cloud gaming. This is a remote play device via Wi-Fi. What?
AKA, it's a Wii U gamepad.
Yeah, that's why there's
a Wii U gamepad.
Yeah,
and I think I don't think this device is going to be very successful because I think if they added some sort of cloud functionality,
it would be
to where you can carry your save over from your PS5 to your device, and then you can play it on the go. I think this could be a lot more successful.
Yeah,
the problem is this isn't that.
Yeah, and also it's not a great design. It's not great. There's gaps. I know Mystic Ryan on YouTube, who's a big PlayStation YouTuber, said, "Oh man, I'm gonna fucking nick this thing at the slightest bump."
I mean, no, it just looks like they like wedged in a Switch 1080p screen into the middle of a PS5 controller.
Yeah, like, and I don't dislike the idea of that split design, but yeah, not a great thing, but we do have some more PlayStation stuff. PlayStation had their games and network services segment, and I'll give you some of the greatest hits from this segment. We do have PlayStation Plus numbers. We have 8 million subs who subbed to the premium service, 6.1 million subs subscribed to the extra, and that is a combined 30% of the... I did the math around like 46 million PS Plus subscribers, so I'd say that's pretty decent, all things
Yeah,
considered.
that's pretty decent overall for PlayStation, especially considering I think this is the highest percentage of user per console that they've had
Yeah,
ever, I believe.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
pretty good stuff.
yeah,
They also have a lot of other interesting stuff. Like they have a chart detailing how much they spend on content since the advent of the PlayStation 1 all the way to the PS5.
yep.
So
We have PSVR 2 numbers finally. PSVR 2 sold just a little under, PSVR 2 sold just under 600,000 units within 6 weeks, which is faring a bit better than PSVR 1 in the same time frame, which sold around it looks like around a little over 500,000, which
doesn't bode a lot of confidence for the future of the medium because this is something that tends to be front loaded when it comes to like sales
yeah,
and whatnot.
yeah, and if you see
And
go on, Slade.
no, and if you look at historical precedent when it comes to most VR devices, that 3 month point is when you start to see sales significantly just taper off of like a cliff.
Yeah, and you look at the PSVR 2 line, it looks like Sony cut it off right as it was going to start to plateau, which is very funny to me. Which is very funny, but the big thing, Slade, I think the big thing that got everybody up in insanity this week, and especially considering this information came out the same day as the state of play. We have this little PS5 investment by business model chart. It shows fiscal year 2019, fiscal year 23, and fiscal year 25 with in fiscal year 23, our current fiscal year, 45% of investment will go into the traditional model and 55% will go to live service. Look over, Slade, at fiscal year 25. But increased investment all around, but 60% of that is going to go to live services, 40% going to go to traditional. And it fucking showed during the showcase. Because there wasn't a whole lot of Sony single-player games showed off at the state of play. A lot of live service.
So digging into this as a whole, obviously the trend towards live service is actually very concerning.
Yes.
I do not think the direction that video game companies and developers and investors are taking towards live service games is particularly conducive or even good for video gaming as a whole. I think live service games tend to limit games and their capabilities in what they do in favor of very predatory either pay to play or pay to win models.
Yeah,
that ultimately just hurt overall. It's just terrible.
Yeah, they want that Fortnite fuck money.
The problem is
not everybody
have to have a title that establish itself to be on par with a Fortnite or something like that.
Yeah,
to even have a remote chance of a live service model even being remotely successful.
Yeah, and we got barely information on any of the two that Sony showed off at the event. Concord, we got a CGI trailer and a blog post that says it's going to be a sci-fi PvP, which groan. I feel like we've seen so many of those. And then we had Fair Games, which looks to be a Ubisoft-style extraction shooter, which seems to be the new style of shooter that's in vogue as the Battle Royale starts to die off a little bit outside of, like, Fortnite and maybe a few others.
Yeah.
And let's talk about this one. We have this chart here down below the next page, Slade, with Destiny 2, of course, by Bungie, and they'll factor into this later. Haven, Firewalk, Gorilla, and what logo do you see there? Naughty Dog. What did we get?
That's right.
We got a post on Twitter from Slade. So, Slade, read us out what Naughty Dog said to Last of Us
All
fans.
right, so Naughty Dog made an announcement of their own to the Last of Us fans. We know many of you have been looking forward to hearing more about our Last of Us multiplayer game. That's the live service multiplayer game that they're rolling.
Yeah, everybody's calling it. Yeah, everybody's calling it Last of Us Factions 2. I don't know if that's actually what it's going to be called, but continue on.
Yeah, we are incredibly proud of the job our studio has done this far, but as development has continued, we've realized what is best for the game to give it more time. Our team will continue to work on the project as well as our other games in development, including a brand new single player experience. We look forward to sharing more soon. So essentially, they've postponed the live service multiplayer Last of Us game that all of zero people asked for.
I wouldn't say all of zero people asked for, because like people did like the original Last of Us factions. So
Yeah, but like I don't know, as a live service game, I just feel like this is being set up to fail. At least they're giving it more time in the oven before they're rushing out in front of people. Like, hey, look, throw your money into this project that we're gonna forget about
yeah,
conveniently in a
so
year or two.
so before we get into the stuff with the Last of Us multiplayer, the funny detail is including a brand new single player experience.
That's right.
We don't know
the
if
big
that.
announcement of this
Yeah,
point.
we don't know if that's a new IP. We don't know if that's Last of Us 3. We don't know if that's a Last of Us spin-off. Who knows? But
Yeah, it could be anything.
yeah, but getting into that, Jason Schreier, of course of Bloomberg, reported that Bungie took a look at the Last of Us back multiplayer and was like, "Nah, fix it. This ain't gonna hold people." And it seems like Bungie has the cachet over Sony's games as a service company. Yeah, with Bungie apparently saying, quote, it had doubts about whether the game could keep players engaged over a long period of time. Interesting.
Out of all the companies PlayStation has acquired or like worked towards, I think Bungie has the most experience with live service games. Obviously, Destiny 2 being their really big one that everyone like talks about and
Yeah,
whatnot.
and they announced Marathon, which is a revival of an old series of theirs. They're making it into a games as a service game, so it'll probably be to a degree somewhat successful, but we'll see. We'll see about that. So they have another one in development. Shocker, something that isn't Destiny 2.
Yeah, I imagine it would probably be a brand new IP or possibly Destiny 3, though I don't really see the point of them releasing a Destiny 3.
Nah, but
I think expanding on 2 as long as they can is probably the play for them.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like I said, you're seeing all that money they're investing in the live service games going to work right there. I imagine they have Bungie doing a lot of work in regards to kind of overseeing the majority of these projects because again, out of all the companies, they have the most experience when it comes to that kind of thing. That's probably why Sony acquired them to begin with.
Well, yeah, that's 100% why. But it's if you like the single player Sony games, this showcase was not for you. In terms of first party, from a first party standpoint, the PlayStation showcase was crap.
Yeah, in fact, I would even go as far to say that this is a pretty disastrous presentation overall, considering that Sony has built its success on its single player's experiences.
Yeah.
And it's like very strong lineup of like iconic IP.
Yeah.
And I feel like chasing these live service gimmicks is only going to hurt Sony overall because again, they're dominating the, high-end tech industry like they have been for the better part of the last 20 to 30 years now.
Yeah, and it's like studios could fall from one of their games failing. Even some of the third parties we saw had some like live service games. Like Square Enix made a fucking Splatoon ripoff.
Oh yeah,
and that's gonna flop.
We're not gonna get too
much
into that. That's its own video, which
that's gonna we're gonna talk about that in a year when that game dies out. But
yeah, absolutely.
But speaking of things
of things dying out,
yeah, take it
by Embracer Group lost out on a pretty huge deal.
Yeah, so CEO Lars, oh my, I'm gonna fuck his name up. Lars Wingefors offers more insight into partnership that, quote, would have set a new benchmark for the industry. So, the CEO of Embracer Group has said the abrupt end of a potential partnership his company was due to announce was brought about by external factors. Yesterday, the company revealed in its financial results that a strategic partnership it had been close to securing had unexpectedly been scrapped, leading the firm to lower its earnings forecast. And the funny thing is, this happened literally the day before these financial results were going to happen. And if you see it in the thumbnail, that if you see a man fucking looking like Phil Spencer did when he was on the Kinda Funny Games cast a few weeks ago, yeah, that's Mr. Lars Wingforce. He's looking like he's been through shit.
Yeah, so we don't know which company this exactly happened with. We do know that Embracer has kind of been at work trying to get lots of partnerships with lots of companies like Amazon for the next Tomb Raider, or for the next Lord of the Rings MMO. And well, also with Tomb Raider, I was right the first
Yeah,
time.
Tomb Raider.
And then Middle Earth Enterprises for a new Lord of the Rings MMO.
Yeah, which
So,
we'll get to that in a moment. By the way,
yeah,
Lord of the
we'll
Rings,
talk
that
about that.
that has some controversial to it, but yeah, this deal had apparently got a verbal commitment for the deal in October of 2022. All the documents had been finalized, and the announcement was ready to go. Embracer asked the partner to confirm the go-ahead, but late into the night, before the company received a negative outcome from the counterparty. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, which pretty out of nowhere. Again, we don't know exactly who is what, but if it was a big enough deal for them to bring it up in their shareholder meeting immediately afterwards,
Like,
this could have been like a ginormous deal.
yeah,
for
it's
all
a
we
$2 billion deal. $2 billion US
Yeah,
dollar
absolutely.
deal.
So like maybe like it was Sony they had a partnership with, maybe it was Microsoft.
Soft.
Who knows?
Yeah,
All I know, $2 billion is nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, that's
so.
a chunk of change. Yeah, yeah. Wingforce even said it would have enabled a catch-up payment at closing for already capitalized cost for a range of large budget games, and it would have, quote, notably improved Embracer's profits in the medium and long term, as well as its cash flow predictability during those contracted development projects. So, yeah, and he even said, yeah, I had a rough night.
Yeah, that's pretty tough.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that are pretty tough and rough, we're going to talk about probably the worst game to come out this year, and it's got a lot of competition for that.
Yeah. So
the Lord of the Rings Gollum came out, and let's just say this might be the worst game of like the past 5 years.
Yeah. So this was made by Daedalic Entertainment. You play as Gollum, which I don't think you've ever done in a Lord of the Rings game, or you haven't too often. But it's
I think this is a first, and not only that, but like he's also the featured character and all that.
Yeah, he's literally in the name of the game. But yeah, on Steam, it has 100 and it has mostly negative reviews, with 35% of the 165 user reviews for this game being positive. Ooh. And let's talk. It's got some lore compendium DLC. It's got some elvish language DLC. It's got a fucking emote DLC, but the main issue people have is just the gameplay and the design of the game.
Yeah, which, I mean, let's be completely honest. Who asked to play as this gremlin as a featured main protagonist of a game? Like, who asked?
Who asked to play as the gremlin?
We are asking on who the hell asked.
Yeah.
Who the fuck asked for this? Because, let's be real, I sure as hell did it. And, I think they were going for some sort of PS2 era platformer.
Kinda, yeah.
Or some shit that ultimately is not only weird and strange as fuck, but also plays like shit. Pardon my French.
Pardon your French, but
yeah, let me tell you, if you thought the review scores on Steam were bad, Metacritic currently has a score at the 36, and the user score is a 1.5. And this isn't a targeted review bomb. This is just absolute fucking everybody thinks this is one of the worst games.
So let me give you all a little bit of a reading of the top most helpful review on Steam from TKI_scatter. They are shocked at the absolute gall of Nacon and Daedalic to charge $50. Yeah, this game is $50 for such poor quality. It is an obviously amateur product across every dimension, riddled with so many technical and creative design flaws. The game looks, sounds, and handles like a student project, demonstrating their first legitimate wrangling of Unreal Engine. Games of this caliber are typically free on Steam, which feels like the only appropriate price point for this product.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and apparently there's frequent screen tearing even on RTX 3090s, on 4080s, and Intel 12700Ks. Like, there were 5 crashes within an hour, frame drops despite a high-end setup. Fucking Jesus Christ. But
yeah, this is horrible. We did get a tweet or PR statement for Dialect Entertainment expressing their point, but you know what? We're not going to read that shit because let's be real, nobody cares. They released an incomplete product because they knew they were going to cash out on the Lord of the Rings IP for a minimal effort, even though they knew this game wasn't ready to go. They didn't give a fuck, and they tried to take advantage of consumers like many predatory companies do in this day and age.
yeah,
We're
so
not going to dignify that by reading it or giving it a response.
yeah, this is competing with Redfall. No, this is worse than Redfall.
This makes Redfall look like a fucking Game of the Year candidate. To put it bluntly, this game makes Superman 64 seem like it was not such a bad product.
Come on. That's doing Superman 64. Look,
like
justice.
Holy shit,
that game should.
bad.
But all right, so we have one last story for this week, and strap yourselves in, ladies and gentlemen. We have a roller coaster. So first off, from Dolphin. Now, I don't remember if we talked about this announcement on the show, but Dolphin announced, I think a few months ago, they were coming to Steam. Well, guess what? They're not coming to Steam. So they put out a blog post which was apparently edited at some point, and we'll get into that edit later because it's important. It's a very important detail. But
that's right.
It is with much disappointment that we have to announce that the Dolphin on Steam release has been indefinitely postponed. We were notified by Valve that Nintendo had issued a cease and desist citing the DMCA against Dolphin's Steam page and have removed Dolphin from Steam until the matter is settled. We are currently investigating our options and will have a more in-depth response in the near future. Originally, this pointed out that Nintendo DMCA'd the Steam page. So, no, that ain't the fucking case.
That's right. So, in a series of tweets, I guess it's not really tweets, it's more like a blog post by Pierre Bourdon. Essentially, they detailed that Valve had contacted Nintendo of America to ask them, hey, what do you think about Dolphin? Nintendo replied, we think it's bad, and also that it violates DCA anti-circumvention provisions nothing about violating copyright. So, and please take it down. Valve takes it down and forwards NOA's reply to the Dolphin Foundation contact address. So basically, there was no due process done whatsoever. This was just a, hey, what do you think about Dolphin? Oh, it's bad. Okay, we'll take it down. And, but that's not all there is to the story if Byron wants to include the minor and more crazy details.
Yes, so, well, first off, Pierre Bourdon was the treasurer for the Dolphin project. Just so you know who this individual is. So they knew. They have the inside information, but obviously, as Slade mentioned, the legal notice which PC Gamer had reviewed addressed to Valve's legal department read as so. Because the Dolphin emulator violates Nintendo's intellectual property rights, included but not limited to its right under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, anti-circumvention and anti-trafficking provisions, we provide this notice to you of your obligation to remove the offering of the Dolphin emulator from the Steam stores. So, the big thing is, apparently they include, and I'm going to try to be as descriptive as I fucking can be with this, but basically they included decryption keys built into Dolphin for the Wii games. Now, GameCube games did not have any form of copy protection, anti-temper. Nintendo did not add that until the Wii. And that is why emulators like Cemu, Citra, Yuzu, Ryujinx, and even some of the PlayStation emulators, PS2, PS3, they all require a BIOS, or in the case of the modern Nintendo emulators, they require you to decrypt the games before you play them. Yeah.
Correct, and it is proven that Dolphin is distributing the common keys that allow Dolphin to encrypt the Wii game disc.
Yeah.
So, so that is Nintendo intellectual property.
Yes.
It is illegal for Dolphin to distribute that. So that's the quote unquote smoking gun when it comes to this entire case Nintendo might have against Dolphin. So this is pretty unfortunate because, again, this is all software that Nintendo no longer provides any way to pay for, buy, or play. So
Yeah.
in terms of like the longevity of a lot of these products that you could get through playing through Dolphin, this is pretty sad overall. But again, this is also because Dolphin didn't take the necessary precautions against Nintendo being able to come in by using Nintendo's, common keys as intellectual property that they can't do legally. So
Yeah.
what
So
can Dolphin do in response to this? Well, it doesn't seem like a whole lot. Because again, even if they were to come back at Valve and counterclaim it, even though there isn't exactly a strong place where they could go, there's no strong like counterclaiming process or anything like that in place
yeah.
for the term service. Even if Dolphin was to go out them, ultimately Nintendo can then choose whether or not they're going to sue. Which, let's be real, it's Nintendo. They're 100%. They would 100% sue.
Yeah.
There's no debate about. Honestly, they still might sue them now that this information's come to light.
Yeah.
So,
like
this does not bode well for the longevity of Dolphin overall.
Yeah, like and apparently, in a video, Modern Vintage Gamer (MVG) did about the situation. Apparently, the Dolphin devs have known about this since Dolphin 3.0, which is nearly 12 years old.
That's right, and we are now currently on 5.0, so it's been 12 years of updates, like Byron stated. So this is not good.
Yeah,
and,
it is
I think.
Yeah, it's basically like it's not a problem until it is a problem. That's the situation with that. It didn't become a problem until it was a problem. So, I think the best course of action for Dolphin is to, at least for Wii games, because again, this doesn't affect GameCube games. For Wii games, have it be like modern emulators, like modern Nintendo emulators, like Citra, like Yuzu, like Simu, like Ryujinx, that require you to have to go get the fucking shit yourself. Whichever way you want to do that, that's up to you. We're not going to encourage anything. There are ways to do stuff. That's all I'm going to say. Do it whichever way you can.
Completely agree with everything Byron's saying. I think that's something they'd have to do, but this doesn't help them in the case of things that they have retroactively, put out there, like every Dolphin version since 3.0. I think Dolphin's done for. And I think it's sad because, again, this is basically the only GameCube and Wii emulator out there on the market. At least this is the most prominent one.
No,
right?
I'm pretty sure it's the only one. It is open source, so people could fork it into something else in the event that the main branch of Dolphin goes away, which is more of a possibility now than ever because at least Nintendo has that under their radar. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe maybe Nintendo just knew about this because of Valve and they're focused on just Tears of the Kingdom marketing, Pikmin 4, trying to come up with their next system, etc., etc. Which, and
we've also seen that right now emulation's a pretty hot topic because they were going after Breath of the Wild mods. And stuff like
that multiplayer mod and stuff that we covered a few months ago.
Emulation is currently on the, front and foremost of their minds, and I'm sure Valve asking them didn't help any. But regardless, this is still like a pretty terrible situation. again, the majority of these games are not playable on any current platforms or acquirable in any feasible way.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, I think the cost of like Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, as
Jesus
an
Christ.
example, was going over like $1,200 or some shit like that.
Yeah, and then what? Path of Radiance is like a couple hundred itself.
Yeah, so like obviously this is absolutely terrible for the medium. Me and Byron are obviously both, pro Dolphin. We want to see Dolphin, come out of this,
Yeah.
relatively unscathed. But again, we're also realist about the situation. They could have did themselves a lot of favors had they been on top of this. It's again since
Or
3.0, which is over 12
yeah,
years ago.
or lesson, don't try to be on Steam. That's
No, that's
Dolphin's
another thing.
biggest
Like,
mistake. Like, I get wanting to be connected to the Steam set of features being much easier to be on the Steam Deck. I get that, but like, bro, you're putting yourself in the line of fire of Nintendo, and the Nintendo Ninjas are very real. They're not a meme. It's a real thing. So
yeah, which to me is just absolutely insane that they would like do that.
yeah,
So
but
again, who really knows? We're just hoping that Dolphin comes out of all this, but we're
yeah,
not optimistic either.
yeah. Dolphin. The one thing I will say, Dolphin is not coming back on Steam ever again.
No,
After this.
absolutely not. I think the idea to like try to put themselves on Steam to begin with was a mistake, like you stated.
Yeah.
Again, maybe they wanted people to have easier access to putting them on Steam decks or like stuff like that. I'm not quite sure what their thought processes was, but again, it is what it is at this point. The damage is done, and it remains to be seen just how hard Nintendo will go after them.
Yeah, but that was the wild week of gaming from Sony's disappointing showcase. Which, look, last thing I'll say on this: Xbox has a good chance right now. If Xbox can have a pretty damn good showcase themselves here in a few weeks, I think Xbox becomes the talk of the gaming world. I think that's a very real possibility. Yeah. And of course, all the other crazy shit that happened this week. What a crazy week, Slade. What a crazy
absolutely.
Week.
And we obviously have more things coming. I know Microsoft has a presentation coming up pretty soon.
Yep, Summer Game Fest is coming up too. Yeah,
Nintendo doesn't have a whole lot of things announced whatsoever,
which puts them in an interesting place. But yeah, get ready, y'all. These next couple of weeks are gonna be fucking something else. Let me tell y'all. But yeah, this has been Byron.
And this has been Slade,
and we'll see y'all next time for more of that gaming news goodness. Bye bye, everybody.